Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. I'm Nicodemus Kane. Today is August the 8th of 2022. That's right, it is an 8-8. So many things about the 88. It is really, really interesting. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. But yes, double eights abound. We were watching something the other day, and it was something popped up with a double 88. I can't remember what it was. We've only been watching Miss Marvel, so maybe that was it. Maybe it wasn't Miss Marvel. It was something though. What was the? It was 2021. That was 33 years. I think that's what it was. 33 years after 88. Yeah, 1988. Somebody's been finding out that if you go back 33 years, you can kind of tell what's happening in the year that you're in based upon songs and stories that were written 33 years ago. Really, really interesting stuff. Really, really interesting stuff. Song titles, song lyrics, movies that came out at the time. And with the number 88 being such a such a blatant thing, it's kind of like the 23 or the 33 or the, oh come on, my brain is not working right now. 66. You see dual 66s everywhere, but I've been seeing a lot of 88s. 8 being the number of infinity. 8 being the number of the crossed serpent eating its tail, the Ouroboros. 8 being the number of infinity. Dual 8s is said to be the number of time. Now, I don't know how that works exactly. It is interesting, though, when you hear things like Back to the Future, and the car went 88 miles an hour. I don't know how it tied back together with Trump, but it did somehow. And the big thing for a while there was the book that they found back in, I think it was the early 1900s, that was the last Trump, or not the last Trump, the last president is what it was. The last president, and that was dealt with a kid named Barron Trump. Or something like that. And it's been a while since I've heard this. It's like all that information just went away because we just, we started looking at other things. But it was this whole thing, and it was the 88, it was wrapped around him so much. And there was this, people started seeing the number everywhere. But it's not just him. It's not like, 88 is a Trump thing. No, it's not. It's the 8 is it's the symbol for infinity. It's the loop. It's the crossed loop. It's where, the Ouroboros of time, the snake eating its tail. It's representative of time that just flows in a circle, that it just keeps repeating. Because there's nothing new under the sun. It just goes along and along and along, and it's almost like it's a reset. It's a constant reset. When you flip that on itself, that means that as you go through the past and you come back, you are able to jump onto that line to be able to go back to try it again. It's an infinite loop. It's a time travel loop. So dual 88s has something to do with time and time travel. Again, there are people out there that were looking way, way into this that I was not into this, but it's one of those interesting things. Go check it out. Today is an 8/8. I always say just look out for certain dates, see what people are talking about, see what things are happening, especially in the background, because they don't like to put stuff out in the front anymore. Just to keep that out there, just to keep everybody aware. It's not. I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I'm not saying that I understand everything completely. I just know it's one of those numbers I see. It pops up. And it popped up in that show for whatever reason, 88. And sure enough, the show deals with traveling through time. By the end of that show, the main character, Miss Marvel, goes back to 1942 of all times. So there's that as well. It's one thing after another, man. It's just weird stuff. Just weird stuff. I tell everybody, keep your eyes open. The numbers mean something. When you see a number in a movie, when you see a clock, look at the time. Look at the numbers that the hands on the clock are pointing to, and see what it is. Look at the numbers that you see constantly over and over again. Listen to when they tell you a number in media. I mean, some people don't watch movies and TV anymore, and hey, man, that's awesome. That is absolutely amazing that you can do that. Other people, though, they watch all the time, and I tell them, keep an eye out. Watch for these things. Watch for these numbers to occur. When these numbers occur, watch what's happening. If you see a certain number pop up, something else may come up because of it, But when you see an 88, there could be time travel involved with it. So it's a thing. It's a thing. I can't say it's not a thing. It's a thing. It actually happens, and it comes very subtly too. You may not see, oh well, it just automatically says 88, and it may not say that. It may say, 28, 28. That may mean nothing, It may mean something. It may be a 244. People see that and they think, oh, now you're just stretching it. Am I though? Am I? Really? They hide it so well. Plain sight. They hide it so well. Anytime I see a 26 anymore, it's like, oh, there's a 66. There it is right there. It is this language that has been using. Really? What the heck am I saying? It is this language that has been used. I'm putting together two different sentences here. It is this language that has been used for years and years and years, and it has been proven over and over again to be repetitive, to be something that you can look at and understand and see, and it's right there in front of your face. Whether it means anything or not, I don't know, but what I do know is there is a pattern to it. It's not just a coincidence anymore. This is a definite pattern of use and possibly manipulation on their part. That's all I'm going to say about it. That's all I'm going to say about it. Because I don't, you start getting into it, you start getting any further into it, and you really don't know how big it gets. And I don't know everything. I don't. There's other guys out there that, man, they know gematria up one side and down the other. And they can see the numbers and the patterns, just by looking at it. I'm only scratching the surface, but these guys, they have the numerology of the letters memorized. They can just pop it off right there and then. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. And just listen to what they say today. Listen to what the powers that should not be. Listen to what they say today. See if you can pull it out. You know, the fragments of truth. See if you can pull it out of what they say. So, anyways, let's go ahead and read Isaiah 27. I did not I didn't do a video on Friday because it just was not there with me. I just sat here for a long time and I had so many things on my brain that I just didn't I didn't do anything. So today I said, you know what? Let's read it, because today I'm in a better place. I'm in a better place. We had a good resting weekend. It was I needed a rest, and we got it. We got a weekend where I didn't do anything. It was nice. It was really, really nice. It's interesting, though. If I had done a video on Friday, we would be on chapter 28. 2/8. But we didn't. So now we're on 27. Weird stuff. Just saying, just keep your eye out. Keep your eye out when you watch a movie, when you watch TV shows, and it's any TV shows, it's any movies. I'm starting to find out that it goes all the way back to the beginning of movie making. As you can find these things, and it doesn't matter what country you're in. Now, some of them don't. Some of them, you get some of these independent guys now that they're not part of the club, and they won't use it. You won't see it very much. You won't see the numerology. You won't see the numbers on the clocks. You won't see the things. There's other times, though, that it will be an independent movie, but you'll see it everywhere, and you'll think, well, they're part of the club. It doesn't matter how cheap this movie looks. Somebody in there, they're wise to what's going on, or they were ordered to put that in there. And then you get the big major movies, the big major productions, the big major TV shows, and it's everywhere, even in animation. There's a reason why every clock on the wall for either The Simpsons or King of the Hill or Bob's Burgers or all the big cartoons, there's a reason why every clock is set at 3 o'clock. So one hand's on a 3 and the other hand's on a 12. That's a 33. There's a reason why they're like that. Or what was the other one? It's either set at 3 o'clock or it's set at 3:30. It's like you're either getting a 33 or a 36. It's one or the other. Sometimes you'll get what was the one? It was a 9 o'clock, I kept seeing, which is it's a 3 9s. It's an inverted 6. So it's either one or the other, Every now and then you get a weird one, like, 7 o'clock. You're just like, Or it might be straight up and down. It might be 6 o'clock, Just look. Just pay attention and look. Listen to the numbers. Watch for the numbers. Watch for the numbers that they focus on. And see what you see. Now, for a long time, again, I was on like the 923. 924 seems to be a thing that's popping up now too, or 423 is another one. But look for the 923, look for the 23, look for the 33, look for a 36, look for a 66, 26. Anytime you see a 2 in front of a number, you got to put 2 of those numbers together. 26, 24, 44. I used to think 44 was a number of death. 22 is actually a number of death. 44 within itself, if I remember right, 4 used to be a number for fortune and money. 44 means getting rich, but I've seen 44 used right before death. So I don't know what that means. See, again, I'm not the best person at this. I'm not good at this either, but I'm not the best person at this. So listening to me is not the place to start. Seeing it for yourself and then finding other people that talk about it. If you're really, really interested in it, go find other people. I can't get so buried down inside of those numbers, because you start seeing those numbers everywhere and it starts driving you crazy. There's got to be a point where you got to pull back, unless you can handle it. Some people can handle it. I get buried in those numbers. I can't handle it. It's a lot. It really is a lot. But there are guys that are way more advanced than I am that do it. That it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Anyways. And you got to remember, not all numbers are bad. Everything was invented by God for us. It is the enemy of this world. It is Satan. It is the evil men of this world that have taken all of these numbers and corrupted them for themselves. Against God's wishes, against God's will. That is the biggest problem, is that everything has been turned and manipulated in order to serve man, when these were things that were given to us by God in order to help us. But they've been manipulated and turned against us in order to be used against us. It's part of breaking out of the lie, is being able to see the truth. And I thank the Father every day for letting me be able to see the truth. Anyways, Isaiah 27. In that day, the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, the crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Now, we're going to stop right there. Leviathan is the sea monster, the creature in the water. Sometimes it's wicked, sometimes it's not. Depending on where you are in the book, it says that Leviathan has been killed already. A wreathed animal, i.e. a serpent, a wreathed animal, a circular animal. Of course, this says especially a crocodile or a large sea monster. Figuratively, it's the constellation of the dragon, which is possible. That at the end time he shall punish Leviathan, and he shall slay it that is in the sea. Is this the sea as far as water? Mediterranean Sea, Red Sea, Dead Sea? Possibly. It could be the sea in the sky, too. But this is a large aquatic animal, perhaps the extinct dinosaur. Some think this to be a crocodile, but it's not. It's description in Job 41. It appears to be a large fire-breathing animal of some sort. Okay. It is the great world snake. It is the serpent that lives in the water. It is the Ouroboros that wraps around the world. There are enough myths and mythologies about sea serpents, about creatures in the water, about the world snake. There are those that believe that we exist on a flat plane with a snake that wraps around it to keep the water in. There are mythologies of a snake that lives underwater that encircles certain islands, certain continents, that the snake refuses to allow you to leave the islands. That's one of the reasons why they claim that people didn't want to leave land. They didn't want to go out to the oceans on ships, It's because there was a giant sea monster that as soon as they got to a certain point, the sea monster would push them back. You hear these myths over and over again. That's the Leviathan. You have to remember, just about everything in the Bible connects to other mythologies, other religions, other everything. It's all connected in some way, shape, or form. So the Leviathan is that snake in the water, that Ouroboros. It's a circular snake around the world biting its own tail. It is the constant. But at the end of time, it says, the Lord will punish Leviathan. He will slay the dragon that is in the sea. Now in the Psalms, I think it was in the Psalms, we read, it said something along the lines of he was the one that killed Leviathan in order to be able to feed the Israelites. Or something to that effect. It was towards the end. It was like in the 140s, 130s, somewhere around there. So according to that, Leviathan's already been killed. Maybe that's a Leviathan. Maybe there's more than one. I don't know. This is the great serpent. Shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent. What does the crooked serpent mean? Crooked. It just, the word for crooked is crooked. Okay. And it is just a serpent. So, the crooked snake, the Leviathan, he went down to the waters. We live in a maritime law where everything we do is based upon a sea-driven, an ocean-driven law system. The serpent hid in the waters. When the world was flooded, the serpent was the only thing that was left. The gods that they had when they came out on the other side were all sea-based. There are so many sea-based gods that they carried forward. There are enough there for you to be able to say something happened. Something was there. There's, you talk about the beast rising out of the sea. You talk about the oh, come on now. One thing, here's one thing. When you talk about the waters being separated from the waters, part of that understanding is that angels exist in those waters. Whether they are waterbound creatures or not, I don't know. I don't think they are. But there's a possibility. Somebody has brought this up at least once somewhere along the line. It's not that when he separated the waters, he encased the waters above in the firmament. He never said that. He made the firmament to separate the waters above from the waters below. That means that anything that is on the outside of the firmament is in water. Now, water is life. Period. Water is life. So, could angels, could God himself, I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much on this because I don't want to say that, oh, God is a water-based creature. But could they exist in some way, shape, or form in water? Water is a very interesting thing. I've talked about this on several different occasions, that the medium of water, not only can it be used to produce lights by just pumping sound through it, but if you pump electricity through it, through two containers of water, if you pump electricity through that water, the water will connect to each other through a strand of just a small strand of water between two containers. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. Is like two beakers of water that have electricity running through it, that have this tiny thin strand of water between them, that they're connected. somehow. Water is a very, very, very interesting thing that I don't even think we've even remotely scratched the surface upon what you can do with it. But maybe there's something to that. I don't know. So if there's a giant serpent in the sea down below, then maybe there is one above too. I don't know. We have seraphims. They are winged serpents. There's just connections there. I'm just trying to figure it out because there's so much that we don't know that I don't think we're ever going to know until the end. It's just things for us to speculate on now. Just weird stuff. But this is that leviathan. This is that Ouroboros. This is the snake eating its own tail. This is the infinity. There you go. I mean, we're talking about the 88s today. We're talking about the snake. The snake that crosses over. There's something to it. There's more to it than we could ever know. And there might be some to it that we're not supposed to know. But with these connections, we can get a little bit closer to what is the truth. But in that day, the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, the crossed over serpent. And he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. In that day sing ye unto her a vineyard of red wine. Now they talk about Leviathan being a woman. I think Leviathan was a woman. Behemoth was a man, Leviathan was a woman. A female. I don't want to say woman. Female. Leviathan always seems to have been the feminine one. Behemoth was always masculine. Behemoth was on the land, Leviathan was on the water. This was some of the first stuff I started looking into. Is whenever I started reading the Bible and trying to find little connections. That was one of the things I had seen first, is that every time they talk about Leviathan, they talk about it as if it were female. Every time they talk about Behemoth, it's a male. So there's a feminine dragon in the water. Crooked. It's crooked. It's not a straight serpent. It's a crooked serpent. Whether that means that it's twisted and turned, or whether that means that it's crossed over itself, I don't know. It's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff when you put it in context with what's going on now. It's this connection. It's all puzzle pieces. It's all puzzle pieces. In that day sing ye unto her a vineyard of red wine. I, the Lord, do keep it. I will water it every moment, lest any hurt it. I will keep it night and day. This is the vineyard of red wine. Fury is not in me. Who would set the briars and thorns against me in battle? I would go through them. I would burn them together. Because you pull the tares and the wheats, and you burn the tares. Or let him that take hold of my strength, that he may make peace with me, and he shall make peace with me. Or let him take hold... Oh, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. Or let him take hold of my strength, that he may make peace with me, and he shall make peace with me. He shall cause them that come of Jacob to take root. Israel shall blossom and bud, and fill the face of the world with fruit. That is that vineyard that they're talking about, the ones that they will keep, and they will water by day. And then who will come and who would set the briars and thorns against me in battle? Because it's my vineyard. Then I find it interesting. I would burn them together. I will go through them. I will burn them together. Very similar to the wheat and the tares. Let's keep going though. Verse 7. Hath he smitten him? Hath he smote those that smote him? Or is he slain according to the slaughter of them that are slain by him? In measure, when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. He stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. By this therefore shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged, and this is all the fruit to take away his sin. When he maketh all the stones of the altar as chalk stones that are beaten in sunder, the groves and images shall not stand up. Which we're supposed to go to the mountains to beat down the groves and tear down the images, but not a lot of people have been doing that lately. Should have been doing it, or else we wouldn't be talking about Bohemian Grove. You're supposed to storm them, tear them down. That's what the Bible says. Yet the defenced city shall be desolate, and the habitation forsaken, and left like a wilderness. There shall the calf feed, and there shall he lie down, and consume the branches thereof. When the boughs thereof are withered, they shall be broken off. The woman come and set them on fire, for it is a people of no understanding. Therefore he that made them will not have mercy on them, and he that formed them will show them no mercy, will show them no favor. Therefore he that made them will not have mercy on them, and he that formed them will show them no favor. You want to talk about what's the word? Some allusions to certain things. Trying to piece that all together. Let's try it again. Let's try it slower. Start back up at verse 7. Hath he smitten him as he smote those that smote him? Or is he slain according to the slaughter of them that are slain by him? In measure, when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. He stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. He stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. Now, in the day of the east wind, of course, almost all wind blows from east to west. When the wind blows from the east, it usually means that a storm is gathering. At least the way I was always told. When a wind comes from the south, it's warm. When a wind comes from the north, it's cold. When a wind comes from the west, it's just the wind. When a wind comes from the east, it means a storm is gathering. Now, you should be prepared. By this, therefore, shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged, and this is all the fruit to take away his sin. When he maketh all the stones of the altar as chalk stones that are beaten in sunder, the groves and the images shall not stand up. When he maketh all the stones of the altar as chalk stones that are beaten in sunder. And again, you were supposed to tear down the altars. You were supposed to tear down the groves, tear down the images. That was one of the things that the Bible said. Anywhere you see them, tear them down, take them down, storm them, beat them down. Do not let evil find its place anywhere. But for whatever reason, good Christians they won't stand up for themselves. I was reading, or I was listening to somebody talk about Romans in the New Testament, and talking about how almost the entirety of the doctrine and theology of Christianity comes from Romans. When you read Romans, it is almost like a guidebook for the Romans, what they would have wanted to give to the Christians in order to keep them in line. Because it is nothing but, be good to others. Don't question anything. Don't question authority. Be subject to your rulers. Just try to live normal, happy lives. Don't push back. Don't worry if your brother is doing something that goes against the commandments. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. You're saved by the blood of Christ, and you can get away with anything. So when I read that, I was like, why does it not say this anywhere else in Paul's writings? It just seems like this whole thing would just be the entirety of I read a couple different things, a couple different places where it said that Romans was known. It was one of those letters that it was there from the beginning of Paul's teachings. So they kind of knew it was there, but it was just so much of give yourself over. It goes against, it's contradictory in some places. It really is. It takes this idea of love, everyone as you would love yourself, to a point of love everyone as you would love yourself. By the way, don't worry about anything else, Don't worry about tearing down evil, getting rid of evil like God told you to do. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just worry about living your life. We'll just worry about not dying. Worry about don't worry about trying to keep somebody from worshiping false idols or worshiping bad holidays, or don't worry about what people eat. It's contradictory. In one part of the New Testament, it talks about if one brother condemns another brother because of something they did, then that brother has good information, or he's getting good teachings. If he doesn't listen to it, then that's on him. Something similar to that. But then you read Romans, and it's like, don't try to fix them. Let them do what they're going to do, because they're going to live the way they live. It doesn't make sense. So today, somewhere along the line, I'm going to see just how much of Romans is actually real. I don't know. Because one of the things I remember hearing was that there were some letters of Paul that don't make sense. Even Peter, in one of his letters, says that there are some things that Paul wrote that may sound contradictory to new Christians. And if you want to talk about contradictory, the book of Romans, the book of just sit down and be good, and it goes against everything. I don't know. That's what I'm going to look into today. I'm going to see. Because I have heard people say that, there are some of those books that Paul wrote that may not be real. I mean, wouldn't that just be the case, that somebody somewhere would write a book of Romans in order to placate the people so that they wouldn't fight back? I don't know. There are so many people out there that want to say that the 66 books of the Bible are perfect and wonderful, and that's all you ever need. But then you've got all these other books that they took out, and you can't find two translations that want to tell you the same thing. So you don't think that these books have been manipulated? You don't think that these have been messed with somewhere along the line? You really think this is perfect? If we're going to say that everything is a lie, and if we are going to have to prove everything, then we have to prove everything and figure it all out. We can't just say, oh, all of history is a lie, the world is a lie, everything is a lie. We have to look at the Bible too. Now, I know God is true. God is real. God is the truth, because he changed me. He showed me the truth. He gave me healing and blessings whenever I asked and cried for them. So I know there's some truth in that. But this word, this book, these printed words on these pages, this doesn't mean that it's all true. Something else is going on there. They may be holy and spiritual, and you may think they're the best thing in the world. And they are. It's beautiful words. It's amazing words. But this, just like anything else, can be manipulated. I have said it before, and I will say it again. The Word of God will stand true forever and ever and ever. It doesn't say anything about the Word of God that man has been able to manipulate. This is where we have to get into some seriously spiritual understanding, spiritual discernment, because it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So let's keep reading this. Like I said, I'm gonna look into that stuff today. See if I can find anything about it. One last thing before we go on. When you look it up, you start looking up Romans. You start looking up, did Paul actually write Romans? When you Google it, you get 1 million hits for, yes, Paul wrote it. Yes, this is the tried and true doctrine of Christianity that Paul gave us. Yes, this is what it is. Yes, you should follow this. Yes, this is this and that's that. If Google tells you constantly that something is a thing, that is definitely something to question. Because there was not one opposing view at all on the first 3 pages of Did Paul Write Romans that I could find. It was all, yes, this is Paul's teaching and you should follow it. Why the book of Romans is a perfect example of how Christians should live their lives. And yet it's the one book that, like I said, it's the one book that tells you just to sit down and behave. I'm just pointing that out. Verse 10. Just saying, the groves and them just shall not stand up. You should have been tearing them down to begin with, but nobody's doing it. Verse 10, yet the defense city shall be desolate, and the habitation forsaken, and left like a wilderness. There shall the calf feed, and there shall he lie down and consume the branches thereof. We have heard that line before, is when the cities shall be desolate and everything will be like a wilderness, that the animals will come in and they will sit down and they will feed, and the animals will live there in happiness and peace. When the boughs thereof, when the boughs thereof are withered, they shall be broken off. The women come and set them on fire, for it is a people of no understanding. Therefore, he that made them will not have mercy on them, and he that formed them will show them no favor. Verse 12, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mounts at Jerusalem. So we're talking about the land of Assyria and the outcast in Egypt. I wonder if there's like a word play going on with Assyria. I mean, when we talk about Assyria and Egypt, we're like, oh, well, those are countries that are here and here. But according to the Bible, Assyria, which has done pretty much nothing for the past, I don't know, however many years, is going to take over most of the world. I mean, they're talking about the king of Assyria heading north, south, east, and west and taking everything over. He will send the king of Assyria to wipe everything out. I remember hearing that in the claims of Nostradamus back in the 80s. That there will be a king of Assyria, that they just follow along with the Bible. So somewhere between now and the end of days, Assyria has to rise up and become bigger than it is. Or Assyria is not the country we think it is. Now remember, the devil doesn't play fair. The devil has already renamed a lot of cities. He's already renamed a lot of countries. There was some kind of a reset that happened. And these places are not what they used to be. Egypt is either a small country over in Africa, at the very top of Africa, where a river drains out into the Mediterranean Sea, or Egypt is the country known as America, where all of these rivers drain out into the Gulf of Mexico. It could be one or the other. I don't know. I speculated that. Assyria. Could that be Asia, maybe? I don't know. That's interesting. And that's speculation. I'm not trying to say that is or isn't anything that is truth. But the countries that they say by the end of days will rise up and take over everything are countries right now that are practically nothing. I don't know. That's something to look into. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt. And ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. So eventually everybody will come back after this king of Assyria has moved across the world, taken over everything, sent everybody into bondage. And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem. Now again, The naming conventions don't have to be what they are. I know so many people are so stuck in, well, it's been called this for years upon years upon years. Of course it is what it is. Of course Egypt is Egypt and Assyria is Assyria and all these places are these, Yeah, but I mean, hell, Stonehenge was only rebuilt back in the 40s or the 70s. I don't remember which one it was. Stonehenge isn't what you think it is anymore. It's not real. They just gathered a whole bunch of rocks and moved them like 50 miles to a new place. Most Egyptian statues and pyramids were rebuilt in the 40s and 50s. There are pictures of them rebuilding these places. Whether they were where they said they were or whether they were moved, we don't know. Some people I have heard speculate that there are places in Egypt that are only 120 years old. What we know is Egypt is only 120 years old. If that. I mean, hell, we knew that something happened back in the 1800s. Something big happened in the 1800s. Wiped out everything that we knew before, and everything just kind of reset. Every bit of history, every bit of philosophy, every bit of music, just about everything comes out of the 1800s. From like the 1850s and up. That's your history. That's all you got. Anything before that is nothing. It's like nothing existed for X amount of years, and then suddenly, out of the blue, bam. There's stuff. So, what if somewhere along the line they just change all the names of all the places to confuse us, so that we would be looking one way, and it's actually happening behind us? We'll know. The Bible clearly says that in the end times you will see it coming. Everybody will see it coming. So we'll understand it. But it's only been recently that people have started asking the question, are these places really named what they're supposed to be named? Are these places really what they say they are? Should we even be trusting anything that they tell us anymore? I don't know. I can't say that. I'm gonna have to leave that on you guys, because I don't know personally. I don't. What I do know is that it is possible. It is absolutely possible. Probable? I don't want to say it's probable. It's possible. I know that some of the guys that, when they talk about America being Egypt and just how much of a walk through the wilderness the Israelites would have had to have done in the places where they say that they would have had to have gone, they have to stretch it a little bit, to really make it work. I mean, when you look at Egypt and Israel, and you look at every place in the Middle East, it's all right there grouped together. It's a small little tiny space where it's entirely possible that you could walk for 40 years and be able to get from point A to point B, and it's no problem. But when you bring all that over to America and put it in America, and you say, well, they crossed some kind of a Red Sea here, and they had to walk all this way to here, and they had to go do this to here, it gets a little big. It starts getting a little, it starts getting bigger than you would think it would be. Now, there are ways to do it to make it work. You know, this Egyptian city that lies in the Grand Canyon, this great lake that dried up, and Salt Lake, Utah. These places where they would have gone. Some people say that they would have settled in Utah by the end of it, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Like Jerusalem is in Utah. I don't know why, but there's a mountain on the Rocky Mountains where they would have been able to go up, and that would have been the one where Moses would have been taken up, and he would have been able to see everything, because that one was higher than Mount Sinai. I think that was the one, wasn't it? Mount Sinai. But it was higher. The mountain that was there was higher than the one where we know. The one in Israel was only so big, and you could only see so much. But if you bring it over to America and he goes to the top of that, well, you can see everything. Just what people say. I'm not saying it's true or not. I don't know. But I'm telling you this much right now, that there are things in America that we don't understand yet. And there are things in Egypt that are being controlled by small groups of people, and all the information we get from them, all the information we get about Egypt comes from them. That Hawass, is that his name? Zari Hawass, whoever he is, has been caught in several lies. He has said, this is this, this is this, this is that. But then it turns around that, no, that's not what it was. You can say this, but whenever independent, archaeologists get down there and look, they find out that that's not what this is. This is something else. You have people out there that are becoming the arbiters of truth, and they are saying, unless you hear it from us, it's not real. And they say that in order to get you to not look into it, so that they can tell you whatever the hell they want to tell you. That's how they do it. It's amazing how since 2001, how many times an event has happened, and that's all you ever hear. Any counter narrative whatsoever. And conspiracy theories weren't so big in the 90s that people had to start worrying about them in the 2000s. What did we have in the 90s? JFK, aliens, really? Maybe there was talk about whoever it was having, whoever the generals were having knowing that World War II or the Pearl Harbor might happen, and they let it happen anyway so that they could get into the war. We didn't have anything like that. But it was as soon as 2001 came, and as soon as people started really taking a look at 9/11, that was when you first started hearing, don't listen to other people. We will tell you what's happening. And ever since then, for the past 21 years, every time an event has happened, it has always been the only information that is true will come out of these microphones. That, you don't have to listen to everyone else, that we will tell you the truth of what's going on here. Any information you need to know will come from us and no other source. That's called controlling the narrative. That's They put that in place way before anybody started talking about anything. And of course, when they did that, they started getting everybody's conspiracy cackles all up, and they started, it makes you think. As soon as somebody says something like that, it's like, why would you say that? Why would you put that out there that we're only supposed to listen to you, no one else, if there's not really something to talk about? Maybe there is something to talk about. And sure enough, you start looking into it. But that was part of Event 201. Took place in October of 2019. That was one of the first things they said in that little meeting that they had was, we have to control the narrative. You have to control what comes out over, the first thing we have to worry about is disinformation. This isn't a war about disinformation on the people's part. This is a war on the people of the disinformation of our rulers, of the people over top of us. They're the ones that keep giving it to you, and they're the ones that have to constantly tell you over and over again, listen to us first. We know what's right. We are the truth. Fact checkers didn't exist until the truth started coming out. That's the best meme ever, and it's the truth. And now we're finding out that fact checkers are so much of a joke. Even Facebook had to admit that their fact checkers are just opinions. They're not real. And I have proven a couple different times that fact checks they don't even go after what you're trying to say. They go after something else. They just want to get that, as if they can just get the label on there that you were fact checked, then they can turn away anyone trying to look at it. What was the one we had? I can't remember now. The one we had where it was the aardvark or whatever it was. Is that what it was? Was it the aardvark? No, it was something else. There was something else that was being fact checked. I posted it. Let's see if I can find it. Facebook. But it was, the fact check wasn't for what was said. It was for something else entirely. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's interesting. I posted a thing. I posted something on Facebook about climate change being a hoax, and they put see how your average temperature in your area is changing. You know how my average temperature in my area is changing? It's not. It gets hot and it gets cold. So go away. Let me see. I gotta look for this. There's the water thing. Oh yeah, the Jim Smith thing. We'll talk about that. I'll pull that up here in a second. But I gotta find this one. It's in here somewhere. I know it is. And I'm not finding it. Of course I'm not finding it. Yeah, I'm not saying it. It was one where the main point was, this is what's happening and this is how bad it is. But it was, well, here's one for missing context. So I was pointing out Twitter bots. There were 9 pictures of Twitter bots saying the exact same thing over and over again, except that 2 of those instead of talking about what was it, Delta variant, whatever the variant was, it called it like a Ligma or Sigma variant or whatever. And the fact check is, well, this isn't a real thing, that this is something else entirely, and you can't listen to this, because they just want to get, as long as they can get the fact check on there, then they can control the narrative. They will get you to not look into what's going on. It's that easy. It's how they do it. So let me do this. Jim Smith. Fact check. Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Thomson routers. Thomson routers. Oh, his picture's not even on here anymore. That's cute. Why is his picture not on here anymore? Come on now. Why is your picture not on here anymore? You don't want people to know? You don't want people to know the truth? Agenda contributor. Cute. I'm looking for a thing. Something that'll show that this guy worked. I love how Wall Street Journal will force you to buy a subscription just to read their stuff. So anyways, this guy, and I'll pull you up here in a second. Let's see if I can do this. I'm looking. I know. I'm sorry. I'm dying here. I'm trying to get you guys all this information all at once. I don't ever have all this information with me, because it's usually just spur of the moment. I don't ever stop and think, before I do a video. It's like, hey, I'll get all this information all together, and I'll put it all on here. That way you can have it all. That way you can see it. Alright, so anyways. Go away with this. So, come with me down a rabbit hole. You'll love this. It's awesome. It's great. Good stuff. All right, so this is Jim Smith. This is the one of the board members on Pfizer. He's also a chairman of the Thomson Reuters Foundation, a London-based charity supported by Thomson Reuters. Thomson Reuters is one of those companies that provides fact-checking to Twitter and to Facebook. One of the companies that went on a tear pulling down any kind of different disinformation whatsoever about the injections for the Cove. This is the chairman of the board. He is also a board member of Pfizer. Now we come over here. This is former president and CEO of Thomson Reuters Corp. Former president, CEO, previous president. But this is the Thomson Reuters, again, is the fact checkers. Now works for Pfizer. This is Thomson Reuters. I was looking for him on here, but he's not here because he's not a part of the system anymore. But it was the same guy. So you come over here. This is the World Economic Forum. I know this gets interesting. So this is whenever he was president and CEO. Apparently, according to this, he's former president and CEO. But he began his career as a journalist and rose through the ranks at Thomson Newspapers to become responsible for operations, blah, blah, blah. This guy is a director of Pfizer. He serves on the board for World Economic Forum Partnering Against Corruption Initiative and is a member of the Forum's International Business Council, as well as the International Advisory Boards of British America Business and the Atlantic Council. So, this guy works for a company, Thomson Reuters, that does fact-checking for injections, who is now a board member for Pfizer and a member of the World Economic Forum. Does anybody see any conflict of interest whatsoever where a guy that works for a company that he has fact-checked? These are not independent fact-checkers. This guy worked for a company that fact-checks for Pfizer, but he also works for the most evil and corrupt corporation of people in the world, the World Economic Forum, the good old 666. These people want to ruin your life. These are the people that tell you that you will, by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. You will eat bugs. You will reduce your carbon footprint down to zero whether you like it or not. These people. This guy, again, worked for Pfizer, came from a background of a company that did fact checks for Pfizer, who he works for now, and he's also part of the World Economic Forum. I'm just throwing all that stuff out there because reasons, totally unrelated photos, just saying, when you dig through these people's pasts, especially politicians, especially the people in news, journalism, in these corporations, they all are members of the board of previous places. They are all married to people that are, I mean, what was it? What the, isn't like Fauci's wife? Isn't she like head of something? I mean, these people are all married to each other. These are arranged marriages. Because they are all the head of the Department of Bioethics in the National Institutes of Health Clinical Center. But I think it was her sister or something that is See, look, all I did was just look up Fauci's wife, and the first thing I get is a fact check. The first thing is that she might be Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, or that his wife is could be the head of the FDA, possibly. But when you dig into these things, when you really dig in, and it's not just her, it's other people too, is that, such and such is the wife of somebody else who is the sister or brother of somebody else who does something somewhere else, who has ties with somebody else, and it's just it stacks and stacks and stacks. Of course, then all these people look alike, so they're all related in some way, shape, or form. And it again is families that came together and they said, we're going to take over the world, and we're going to do it generation by generation. They're just going to keep piling up and piling up and piling up. And what happens is they don't send them to the same schools. They don't teach them the same ways. They don't have the same moral values that we do. They teach them that anybody below them in stature is nothing and nobody. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to let live. That they believe in eugenics. They believe that they are the supreme race. They believe that they are the higher powers. They teach their children that. When you teach your children that they are a superior people, your children will grow up not thinking that that lowly people are worth a damn. And we have seen this slowly but surely through the years. We have seen this happen. That we are now to a point that these kids are so, the children of the eugenists from the 20s and 30s are so turned to evil that they're just saying the quiet parts out loud now. They don't care anymore. Evil corrupts constantly over and over again. You have generations of families. They started off back in the 1700s, 1800s, I don't know when. Whenever it happened, they took over and they started building families. And what happened was they started putting their families into the politics, into the media, into journalism, all these places where they could control it. All you have to do is just go to your son and daughter and say, hey kid, say this, do that. That's all you have to do. That's why everybody looks alike. That's why everybody's married to each other. These are arranged marriages so that it stays in the family. They just kept building and kept building. All these people are related. All these people get shuffled from one place to another. Sometimes even in conflicts of interest. To where one person works for one thing and then he works for something completely opposite the next thing. But he's still working for the first thing. He's still, existing in that frame. And they're all together. This is what we're fighting. This is why the Bible says, do not let evil men make more evil men. Do not let them have children. The Bible says it over and over again. Tear down the groves. Tear down evil. Put out evil wherever it is. Do not let evil men breed, because they will make more evil men who will go on to make more evil men. And evil just snowballs, and it just gets worse and worse. And that's exactly what has happened. We have gotten to this point now to where it has gotten so crazy because, again, people want to follow the Romans. They want to follow the letters of Paul and say that, we just have to be nice and just let it happen. Just put your head down, shut up, don't question authority. And that's what people have done for 100 years. They have not pushed back on it. And now you're in a situation where you're in. Now, I'm not saying that's not what we're supposed to do. I am just officially starting to question what the heck is going on. Because everything in the Bible says, don't let these people take hold. And yet, for some reason, we've been tricked and manipulated into turning the other cheek. Turning the other cheek so much so that we have allowed it to wash over us, and we are drowning in the lies and evil of this world. So I don't get it. But that's a perfect example. They trade CEOs like they're trading cards. They're all married to each other. They're all related to each other, and their children are just going to take their place whenever they leave. And it's just going to keep going on and on and on. You should never have the son of a man who was president become president. That's just not the way it works. That's not the way it works. Those values should never transfer over. Especially if the first one didn't work out too well. What do you want me to say? It's like they whenever they talk about all the presidents being related to one person, is that you can track that lineage all the way back. It's because they're all related. Because they knew if they could control their own lineage, their own families, that they could control the world. Because that's at family values. They don't want you to have family values. They don't want you to have a solid family structure. They don't want you to be able to have a big family where you can instill those values down, pull that inheritance down, give them what they need. And yet they're up there wherever they are having 4 or 5 kids, and they're putting different values into those kids' heads and teaching them, don't follow these people. These people are below you. These people are below you and meaningless. Don't have any respect for them, because all they want to do is come up and kill you. Because you have power, you have wealth. These people will hurt you. That's what they tell them. That's what they teach them. That's what they're teaching them. I'm not saying that's what we have to teach our kids, but holy smokes, we have to be able to. We have to do better than that, man. You're fighting true evil. This isn't just a battle of just a bunch of scary guys sitting behind a desk somewhere. You're fighting evil in the worst forms. I don't know what else to say to that. I'm going to get going now. We're kind of an hour and a half in. I could keep going on about this, but I won't. But take care of yourselves, man. Start looking into this stuff. Start opening other people's eyes. And we can't change it from the inside. It's too corrupt now. It's too corrupt and evil that there's no changing it from the inside. You're not voting this way. You can't do that. This has got to be a fundamental change from the bottom up, which means you have to teach your children better. First of all, stop lying to them. Stop teaching them lies. Even the stupid little lies of Christmas and Easter. Santa Claus. I was listening to a video on Friday. They were talking about when you teach your kids that these things are real, and then they grow up and find out that they're not real. Not only does it instill some kind of distrust in you because they find out that you were lying to them, but it shows them that, it's okay to tell a lie. It's okay. It's just entertainment to tell a lie. No, it's not ever okay to tell a lie. But that's what it instills in their minds. It's okay to tell the lie. It's okay to keep going with that lie. Stop lying. Stop lying. How hard of a thing is that to do? Stop lying to your children. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to other people. It is time to start telling the truth. Because all these little lies add up. It's time for us to come to something better. Just so insanely, so terrible is what it is. I don't know where else to go with it, man. I don't have anything else. I shall talk to you all later. God bless you all. It gets rough. Again, it gets rough. Thinking about it, hearing about it, knowing that so many people just will not, they will not open their ears, open their eyes, open their hearts to any kind of truth whatsoever. And they just go along with it just to get along. And we were not told to go along with it. We were told the opposite. We were told to put it away, to get rid of it, to tear it out, to push it away, to push it back. It's what we were told. Get rid of evil in all its forms. But we didn't. And now we can't dig ourselves out. There's got to be a better way. All right, I shall talk to y'all later. Take care of yourselves.